If you've ever trusted someone with everything you had, only to wake up and find they stole your entire life while you slept beside them, then this story is for you. Subscribe now, because what happens next will break your heart before it puts it back together. Amara stood in the lobby of Hana Bank in Gangnam, staring at the screen that displayed a number she could not understand. -400 million won. Her hands shook as she held the paper the banker had just given her. The woman behind the glass looked at her with pity, the kind that made Amara want to scream. She had come here to withdraw money for her mother's surgery back in Lagos. Instead, she learned that she owned nothing. Worse than nothing. She owed a debt so large it would take 3 lifetimes to repay. The air in the bank smelled like cleaning solution and fresh ink. Outside, the streets of Seoul glittered with wealth she thought she had finally touched. But now, standing here in her nurse's uniform still wrinkled from her overnight shift, she realized she had been holding smoke. The banker spoke in careful English, slow and deliberate, as if Amara were a child. "Mrs. Kang, your husband took loans using your name. He used your visa status, your work contract, your apartment lease as collateral. Everything is in your name. The debt collectors will contact you soon." Amara's throat closed. Mrs. Kang. She had been so proud of that name 6 months ago when Jiho slipped the ring on her finger at the courthouse. He had been so gentle that day, his smile soft and real. He told her she would never be alone again. He said he loved her. He said he worked in structural engineering for a firm in Bundang. He said his family was traditional but would grow to accept her. Every single word had been a knife she did not see coming. Now those knives were buried deep, and she was bleeding out in public. Her phone buzzed, a message, not from Jiho, from a number she did not recognize. "You signed the papers yourself, Amara. Don't pretend you didn't know." Her stomach dropped. She had signed papers, so many papers. Jiho always brought them home late at night, his face tired, his voice soothing. He told her they were for his work permits, for joint accounts, for their future. She trusted him. She signed everything he put in front of her because she loved him, because he was her husband, because in a foreign country where she barely spoke the language, he was the only solid ground she had. Now that ground had opened up beneath her, and she was falling into darkness with no bottom in sight. She walked out of the bank into the cold March air. Her breath came out in clouds. People rushed past her on the sidewalk, their faces blank, their lives intact. She wanted to scream at them. She wanted to grab someone, anyone, and make them see her. But she was invisible here. She had always been invisible, just another foreign worker in a city that glittered but did not care. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a call. She answered without thinking. A man's voice, smooth and low, speaking perfect English. "Amara, my name is Seung. I worked with your husband. We need to meet. Tonight. If you want to know the truth, come to the Lotus Room in Itaewon at 8. Come alone." The line went dead before she could respond. Amara stood on the corner of Tehran Row, the financial district towering above her like a judge's bench. She thought about her mother waiting for surgery. She thought about the apartment she would lose. She thought about Jiho's face the last time she saw him, 3 days ago, when he kissed her forehead and said he had to travel to Busan for a project. He never came back. He never existed. And now a stranger was offering her the truth. She did not know if she was strong enough to hear it. But she also knew she had no choice. She had been destroyed. Now she needed to know why. She needed to know who her husband really was, and she needed to know if there was any way to survive what he had done. 6 months earlier, Amara had been sitting in her tiny studio apartment in Sillimdong, scrolling through her phone after a double shift at the hospital. Her back ached. Her eyes burned. She had been in Seoul for 2 years, working as a nurse, sending money home, living in a room so small she could touch both walls with her arms spread wide. She was tired, not just physically, tired of being alone, tired of eating rice and kimchi by herself every night. Tired of video calls with her mother who kept asking when she would settle down, find someone, build a life. So that night, against her better judgment, she opened a dating app. She told herself it was just to look, just to see if there was anyone out there who might see her as more than a foreign worker. The messages came fast, too fast. Most of them were shallow, some were rude, others were clearly looking for something she was not offering. She was about to delete the app when one message stood out. "Hi, my name is Jiho. I'm not good at this, but I saw your profile and I thought you seemed kind. I'm an engineer. I work too much. "I don't have many friends, but I'd like to take you to dinner if you're willing to give me a chance." It was simple, honest. He did not comment on her looks or ask invasive questions. He just seemed lonely like her. She looked at his profile picture. A man in his early 30s, clean-cut, wearing a simple black sweater. His smile was small but warm. She hesitated for only a moment before typing back, "Okay, let's meet." They met at a small restaurant in Hongdae, a place called Pape that served African and Korean fusion food. Amara had suggested it as a test. If he was uncomfortable, she would know. But Jiho arrived early, waited outside, and greeted her with a respectful bow. He did not flinch at the menu. He asked her to order for both of them, said he wanted to try something new. They talked for 2 hours. He told her about his work, about growing up in Incheon, about losing his father young and having to take care of his mother. He asked about her family, her dreams, why she came to Korea. He listened, really listened. When she talked about her mother's illness, his eyes softened. When she laughed, he smiled like he had forgotten how. At the end of the night, he paid for her taxi and asked if he could see her again. She said yes. The next few weeks felt like a dream. Jiho was consistent. He texted her every morning. He called her after work. He took her to quiet places where they could talk without the noise of the city drowning them out. He never rushed her, never pressured her. He was patient in a way that made her feel safe. One evening, he invited her to his apartment in Bundang. He said he was renovating, that it was a mess, but he wanted her to see where he lived. When she arrived, the place was indeed under construction. Plastic sheets covered the floors, dust hung in the air. He coughed a few times and apologized, said the dust was getting to him. She did not think anything of it. She was just happy to be there in his space, feeling like she was becoming part of his life. 2 months later, Jiho proposed. Not with a grand gesture, but quietly in her tiny apartment after she came home from a night shift. He was sitting on her floor with takeout food, and when she walked in, he stood up and took her hands. "I know this is fast," he said, "but I don't want to waste time. I've been alone for so long, and you make me feel like I'm finally home. Marry me. Let me take care of you." Amara's heart had cracked open. She said yes. They went to the courthouse the next week. No family, no ceremony, just the 2 of them and a translator. She became Mrs. Kang. She thought it was the beginning of everything. She did not know it was the end. After the wedding, things moved quickly. Jiho said they needed to combine finances, that it would be easier for her visa status for taxes for their future. He set up joint accounts. He added her name to his apartment lease. He brought home documents for her to sign, always late at night, always when she was exhausted. He explained them quickly, his voice calm and reassuring. She signed. She trusted him. Why wouldn't she? He was her husband. He cooked for her. He held her when she cried about missing home. He made her feel like she was not alone anymore. But now, standing in the cold outside Hana Bank, she realized that every moment of kindness had been a transaction. Every smile had been a lie. Every touch had been a theft. At 8 o'clock, Amara walked into the Lotus Room, a private lounge in Itaewon that smelled like leather and expensive whiskey. The lighting was low, the kind that hid faces and secrets. A man sat alone in the corner booth, his suit dark and perfectly tailored. He looked up when she entered, and his eyes were sharp, calculating. He gestured for her to sit. She did, her body tense, her mind racing. "You're Seung?" she asked. He nodded. "I worked with Jiho, or rather, I worked for the same people he works for." Amara's blood went cold. "What people?" Seung leaned back, his expression unreadable. "The Black Rose Syndicate. You've never heard of them, have you?" She shook her head. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Good. That means Jiho did his job well." Seung explained it slowly, carefully, like he was teaching her a language she did not want to learn. The Black Rose Syndicate was not just a criminal organization. It was a dynasty, a network that controlled everything from real estate to technology to international trade. They operated in the shadows, using legitimate businesses as fronts. And they used people like Jiho. "He's what we call a cleaner," Seung said. "He finds women like you, foreign, isolated, hardworking. Women with clean records and legal work visas. He marries them, gains access to their identity, and uses them to move money, take out loans, create shell companies. When the debt gets too high, he disappears. You're left holding everything. The syndicate walks away clean." Amara felt like she was drowning. "Why are you telling me this?" she whispered. Seung's eyes darkened. "Because Jiho made a mistake. He took more than he was supposed to. and now the syndicate wants him dead. I thought you might want to help. Amara's hands clenched into fists on the table. Why would I help you? Seung leaned forward. Because if you don't, you'll spend the rest of your life paying for his crimes. The debt collectors will come, they'll take everything. They'll deport you. Your mother will die waiting for surgery you can't afford, but if you help me find him, I can make the debt disappear. I can give you your life back. It sounded too good to be true. It probably was, but Amara had nothing left to lose. What do you want me to do? She asked. Seung smiled. He'll contact you. He always does. They can't help themselves. When he does, you tell me, and then we end this. Amara nodded, her heart pounding. She did not know if she was making a deal with the devil or grabbing the only lifeline in a storm. But she knew one thing for certain. Jiho had destroyed her. Now she would destroy him back. 3 days later, Jiho called. His voice was soft, apologetic, exactly the way it used to be. Amara, I'm so sorry. I can explain everything. Please meet me. I need to see you. Her hands shook as she held the phone. Every instinct screamed at her to hang up, to block him, to never hear his voice again. But she thought about her mother. She thought about the debt. She thought about Seung's promise. Where? She asked, her voice flat. Jiho gave her an address in Gangbuk, an old neighborhood far from the glittering center of Seoul. Tomorrow night, 10 o'clock. Come alone. He paused. I love you, Amara. I never wanted to hurt you. The line went dead. Amara sat in the dark of her apartment, tears streaming down her face. She did not know if she was crying because she still loved him or because she hated herself for ever believing he was real. She texted Seung the address. His reply was immediate. Good, I'll be there. Stay close to him. Make him think you forgive him. When I give the signal, move away. Amara stared at the message. She was about to become bait. She was about to lead her husband into a trap, and the worst part was she did not feel guilty. She felt nothing, just a cold, hollow space where her heart used to be. She looked at her reflection in the window. She barely recognized herself. 6 months ago, she had been hopeful, trusting, full of dreams. Now she was a weapon, and tomorrow night she would find out if she was strong enough to pull the trigger. The neighborhood in Gangbuk was old, the kind of place where streetlights flickered and shadows pooled in doorways. Amara arrived early, her breath visible in the cold April air. She wore the same coat she had worn on their first date, the one Jiho said made her look beautiful. She hated herself for choosing it, but she needed him to see her as the woman he had married, the woman he thought he could still manipulate. She waited outside a shuttered convenience store, her phone clutched in her hand. At exactly 10 o'clock, Jiho appeared. He looked thinner, his face drawn, his eyes tired. But when he saw her, his expression softened into something that almost looked like relief. Amara, he breathed, stepping closer. She forced herself not to move away. You came. You said you'd explain, she said, her voice steady. So explain. Jiho glanced around, nervous, like he was expecting someone. Not here. There's a place nearby. We can talk. He reached for her hand. She let him take it, even though his touch made her skin crawl. They walked in silence through narrow alleys, past crumbling walls covered in faded posters. Amara's heart pounded. She did not know where Seung was, if he was following, if this plan would even work. All she knew was that she was walking deeper into the dark with a man who had already destroyed her once. Jiho led her to a small building, a half-renovated office space that smelled like mold and dust. He unlocked the door and gestured for her to go inside. She hesitated. It's safe, he said quietly. I promise. His promises meant nothing, but she stepped inside anyway. The room was bare except for a single table and 2 chairs. A dim bulb hung from the ceiling, casting long shadows. Jiho closed the door behind them and locked it. Amara's pulse spiked. Why did you lock it? She asked. I don't want anyone interrupting us, he said. He sat down and gestured for her to do the same. She sat, her body tense, ready to run. Jiho rubbed his face, and for a moment he looked genuinely broken. I never wanted this, he said. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, Amara said, her voice hard. You destroyed me. Jiho flinched. I didn't have a choice. The syndicate owns me. They've owned me since I was a kid. My father owed them money. When he died, the debt passed to me. They told me what to do, who to marry, how to use you. If I didn't, they'd kill my mother. His voice cracked. I'm sorry, Amara. I'm so sorry. Amara wanted to believe him. Some small, stupid part of her wanted to reach across the table and hold his hand, tell him it would be okay. But she had learned the hard way that wanting something did not make it true. If you're really sorry, she said slowly, then fix it. Give me back my life. Jiho shook his head. I can't. The money's gone. The syndicate took it. I'm as trapped as you are. Then why did you call me here? Amara demanded. Jiho looked at her, and for the first time she saw something dangerous in his eyes. Because I need you to run away with me. We can disappear, start over. I have a little money saved. We can go somewhere they'll never find us. Amara's stomach turned. He was still trying to use her, still trying to pull her into his nightmare. No, she said firmly. I'm not running with you. Jiho's face hardened. Then you're a fool. They'll come for you next. Before Amara could respond, the door exploded inward. Seung stepped through, flanked by 2 men in black suits. Jiho shot to his feet, his face going pale. Seung, he whispered. You brought him here. He looked at Amara, betrayal flashing in his eyes. She stood, her legs shaking but her voice strong. You brought this on yourself. Seung walked slowly toward Jiho, his expression cold. You stole from the family, Jiho. You know what that means. Jiho backed against the wall, his hands raised. I can pay it back, I just need time. Seung laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Time? You've had 6 months, you've had a lifetime, now you're out. He nodded to his men. They moved forward. Amara turned away, her heart pounding. She heard Jiho scream her name. She did not look back. She walked out into the cold night air, and for the first time in months she felt like she could breathe. Seung found her sitting on the curb outside, her head in her hands. He sat down beside her, silent for a long moment. It's done, he said quietly. Amara did not ask what that meant. She did not want to know. The debt, she asked. Gone. I'll have the paperwork sent to you by the end of the week. You're free. Free. The word felt strange in her mouth. She did not feel free. She felt hollow. Seung stood, brushing dust from his suit. You did well tonight. Most people wouldn't have had the strength. Amara looked up at him. Who are you really? Seung smiled, and this time it almost looked genuine. Someone who understands what it's like to be used by people you thought you could trust. He handed her a business card. If you ever need anything, call me. You've earned that much. Then he walked away, disappearing into the shadows like he had never been there at all. Amara went back to her apartment and sat in the dark. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. How are you, my daughter? I'm praying for you. Amara closed her eyes and let the tears come. She had survived, but survival was not the same as living. She thought about Jiho's face when he realized she had betrayed him. She thought about the way he screamed her name. She thought about the fact that some part of her still ached for the man she thought he was. But that man had never existed. She had loved a ghost. And now she had to figure out how to be real again. She typed a message back to her mother. I'm okay, Mama. I'll send money for the surgery soon. I love you. It was not a lie, not entirely. She would be okay, eventually. She had to be. The next morning, Amara went back to work. She put on her scrubs, tied her hair back, and walked into the hospital like nothing had changed. Her coworkers greeted her with smiles. Patients thanked her for her care. No one knew that her entire life had collapsed and been rebuilt in the span of a week. No one knew that she had led her husband to his death. Or maybe not death. She did not know. She did not want to know. She just wanted to move forward, one step at a time, until the weight on her chest finally lifted. But as she walked through the sterile white halls, she felt eyes on her. She turned and saw a man in a black suit standing by the elevator, watching her. He nodded once, then disappeared. A chill ran down her spine. The syndicate was still watching. They would always be watching. That night, Amara received a package, no return address. Inside was a thick envelope filled with documents, loan cancellations, debt forgiveness letters, her name cleared from every account Jiho had opened, and at the bottom a handwritten note. You are free, but freedom comes with a price. If you ever speak of what happened, if you ever go to the police, if you ever try to run, we will find you. You belong to us now, not as a victim, as a witness. Remember that. Amara's hands shook as she read the words. She had escaped Jiho's trap only to fall into a bigger one. The Black Rose Syndicate had let her go, but they had not released her. She was marked now, tied to them by blood and silence. She thought about burning the note, about running, about going to the police anyway, but she knew it would be useless. They were everywhere. They were everyone. So she folded the note carefully and put it in a drawer. Then she locked her door, turned off the lights, and lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She had survived, but she did not know if she would ever be free. Weeks passed. Amara sent money home. Her mother had the surgery. It was successful. Life continued. But Amara felt like she was living in a glass box, visible to everyone but untouchable. She went to work. She came home. She did not date. She did not trust. She did not let anyone close. Until one evening, 3 months after that night in Gangbuk, she saw Seung again. He was sitting in a cafe near her apartment, reading a newspaper like he had been waiting for her. She almost walked past, but something made her stop. She went inside and sat down across from him. "Why are you here?" she asked. Seung folded his newspaper and looked at her with those sharp, unreadable eyes. "Because I have a proposition for you." Amara's stomach tightened. "I don't want anything to do with your world." Seung smiled. "Too late, you're already in it, but this time you get to choose your role." He slid a folder across the table. "There are others like you, women Jiho used. Women the syndicate used. I want to find them, help them, and I need someone who understands what they've been through." Amara stared at the folder. "Why would you do that?" Seung's smile faded. "Because I'm tired of watching innocent people get destroyed, and because you're stronger than you think." He stood. "Think about it, you have my number." Then he left. Amara sat alone in the cafe, the folder in front of her. She did not open it, not yet, but she did not throw it away either. Because for the first time since everything fell apart, she felt something other than emptiness. She felt purpose. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start building a life again. Amara opened the folder 2 days later. Inside were names, photos, stories, women from the Philippines, Vietnam, Nigeria, Thailand. All of them married to men connected to the Black Rose Syndicate. All of them left with debt, shame, and broken lives. Amara's chest tightened as she read their stories. They were her story. Different faces, different countries, but the same pain, the same betrayal. She called Seung. "I'll do it," she said, "but I have conditions." "Name them," Seung replied. "I want protection for these women, real protection, not just money. I want them safe, I want them free, and I want the men who did this to them to pay." There was a pause. Then Seung said, "Agreed, but you need to understand something, Amara. This won't be easy. The syndicate doesn't forgive, and once you start, you can't stop." Amara thought about Jiho, about the debt, about the note in her drawer. "I'm already in," she said. "I might as well fight back." Over the next 6 months, Amara became someone she never thought she could be. She met with the women in secret, listened to their stories, helped them navigate the legal system, connected them with resources. Seung provided the muscle, the money, the protection. Together, they dismantled 3 shell companies, exposed 2 syndicate operatives, and freed 11 women from debt. It was dangerous work. There were threats. There were close calls. One night, a man followed Amara home. She called Seung, and within minutes, the man was gone. She did not ask what happened. She did not need to. She was learning the rules of this new world. And she was learning that she was stronger than anyone, including herself, had ever believed. But the work took a toll. She barely slept. She barely ate. She lived in a constant state of vigilance, always looking over her shoulder, always waiting for the syndicate to decide she had gone too far. One evening, Seung called her to meet him at a rooftop bar in Gangnam. The city spread out below them, a sea of lights and noise. He handed her a glass of wine. "We need to talk," he said. Amara's stomach dropped. "What happened?" Seung looked out at the city. "The syndicate knows what we're doing. They've known for a while. They've been watching, waiting to see how far we'd go." "And?" Amara asked, her voice tight. Seung turned to her. "They're offering a deal. We stop now and they let us walk away. You, me, and the women we've helped. No retaliation, no consequences, we just disappear." Amara's heart pounded. "And if we don't stop?" Seung's jaw tightened. "Then they come for all of us and they won't stop until we're gone." Amara looked out at the city, at the lights that had once seemed so full of promise. She thought about the women she had helped. She thought about the ones still trapped. She thought about Jiho and the note and the price of freedom. Then she looked at Seung. "I'm not stopping," she said. Seung smiled, slow and dangerous. "I was hoping you'd say that." The final confrontation came on a cold November night. Seung had arranged a meeting with the syndicate's regional commander, a man named Director Choi. It was held in a private room at a luxury hotel in Jongno, the kind of place where power was traded like currency. Amara wore a simple black dress, her hair pulled back, her face calm, but inside she was screaming. Seung sat beside her, his presence steady and solid. Director Choi entered, flanked by guards. He was older, silver-haired, his suit immaculate. He sat down across from them and smiled. "Miss Amara, I've heard a lot about you." "I'm sure you have," Amara said evenly. Choi leaned back. "You've caused us quite a bit of trouble, but I admire your tenacity, so I'm going to make you an offer. Work for us, use your skills to help us manage our foreign operations. You'll be paid well, protected, respected." Amara felt Seung tense beside her. She met Choi's eyes. "No." Choi's smile faded. "You're making a mistake." "Maybe," Amara said, "but it's my mistake to make." Choi stood. "Then you've chosen your fate." He walked out. The room fell silent. Seung looked at her. You know what this means. Amara nodded. I know. Are you ready? Seung asked. Amara thought about her mother, healed and safe. She thought about the women she had freed. She thought about the girl she used to be, the one who trusted too easily and loved too deeply. That girl was gone. In her place was someone harder, sharper, but also more whole. I'm ready, she said, and for the first time in a long time, she meant it. The syndicate came for them 3 days later, but Seung had prepared. He had allies, resources, a plan. The fight was brutal and brief. When it was over, Director Choi was arrested by authorities Seung had been feeding information to for months. The Black Rose Syndicate's operations in Seoul were crippled. Not destroyed, but damaged enough to give people like Amara a chance to breathe. Seung disappeared after that the way he always did, but he left Amara a message. You were never a victim. You were always a survivor. Don't forget that. Amara stood on the balcony of her new apartment, larger and brighter than the one she had shared with Jiho. The city stretched out before her, full of possibility and danger in equal measure. She had lost so much, but she had also gained something she never thought she would have again. Herself. She was Amara, not Mrs. Kang, not a victim, not a ghost, just Amara, and that was enough. Spring came to Seoul, soft and green and full of new life. Amara walked through Uedo Park, watching families picnic under cherry blossoms. She had taken the day off from the hospital, something she rarely did. But today felt different. Today felt like a beginning. Her phone buzzed. A message from one of the women she had helped, a woman named Lin from Vietnam. I got my citizenship today. Thank you for everything. I'm finally free. Amara smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. She typed back, You did this yourself. I just walked beside you. It was true. She had learned that freedom was not something you could give someone. It was something they had to take for themselves. All she could do was hold the door open. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. She thought about Jiho sometimes. Late at night, when the city was quiet and her mind wandered. She wondered if he was still alive, if he had escaped, if he thought about her the way she thought about him. But those thoughts came less and less. He was a chapter in her story, not the whole book. And she was writing new chapters now, ones filled with strength and purpose and the kind of love that did not destroy. She had started seeing someone, a doctor at the hospital. A kind man with steady hands and a quiet laugh. He did not know about her past, not all of it, but he knew enough. He knew she had been hurt. He knew she was healing, and he was patient. That was all she needed. Patience. Time, space to become who she was always meant to be. Amara sat on a bench and closed her eyes, letting the sun warm her face. She thought about her mother, healthy and strong, sending her voice messages full of laughter and prayers. She thought about the women she had helped, scattered across the world now, building new lives. She thought about Seung wherever he was, fighting battles she would never see. And she thought about herself, the girl who came to Seoul with nothing but hope, the woman who lost everything, the survivor who took it all back. She had been broken. But she had also been rebuilt. And the cracks, the places where the light got in, made her stronger than she had ever been before. She was not the same person she was a year ago. She would never be that person again. And she was okay with that. More than okay. She was proud. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Seung. There's someone who needs help. A woman in Busan. Are you available? Amara looked at the message for a long moment. She could say no. She could walk away, live a quiet life, let someone else carry the weight. But that was not who she was anymore. She had found her purpose in the wreckage of her pain, and she was not going to let it go. She typed back, Send me the details. Then she stood, brushed the petals from her dress, and walked back into the city. The city that had broken her, the city that had remade her, the city that was now hers. She was Amara. She was a survivor. She was free, and her story was just beginning. The cherry blossoms fell like snow around her, soft and silent and beautiful. She walked through them with her head high, her heart steady, her future unwritten. She had paid the price of his name, but she had earned her own. And no one, not Jiho, not the syndicate, not anyone could ever take that away from her again. She was whole. She was strong. She was enough. And that was the greatest victory of all.